What's going on, guys? SmartHelping.com here. It's Thursday. Um, really, my whole work schedule's been a blur since Saturday, which is a good thing. Busy, making money, but um, I've got a little window here Thursday as I start to catch up, and we got an update here. Now, this is I originally had an accounts receivable and accounts payable template that was specifically for a consulting firm that had billable hours. So that wasn't really ideal if your business is just a regular brick and mortar business that has vendors as well as clients that owe you money, so receivables. And some of the wordage and some of the logic didn't make sense for that, so I'm rebuilding the accounts receivable and payable template like this to be more simplified for such clients. And I'm renaming as I speak here. I'm going to rename this just to make... Actually, we can't rename that because it's in the macro. Okay, that's okay though. So the idea here is, can you enter bills? Can you pay bills? Can you track the entering and paying of bills, and therefore track the balances you owe to given vendors, as well as the status of a given invoice over time, and dynamically see that in a visual, as well as be able to query information. So this is what we got here. The first I'm going to do payables, and that's because, well, most businesses would get the most use out of payables, so we'll just start there. You might not want to use it for receivables, but you could. I'll go through that once I finish going through this part. So general logic applies. You would enter your start date or the invoice date that you receive, the bill. You would write here if it's a bill entry or if you're paying a bill, and then you write the invoice number and then the vendor, which you can choose from up to 250, and that can easily be expanded to thousands of vendors without issue. Then we've got, if you're entering a bill, you would put the total amount owed. If you're paying a bill, you would put the total amount you're paying, and you need to make sure the amount paid is negative. So total amount, and I put notes here in both the cells to remind anyone using this, and if you purchase a template, these notes will be in there. So let's say I'm entering a bill on May 18th, 2017 today for, let's say, $10,000. And I don't know, there's extra fields in here too, which means if you want to track data such as, I don't know, it might pertain to the invoice, something here, you can define a field and track that over time. And obviously with databases, you want to make sure your columns are structured right. So if you do put a field as a given data point, then keep that field that data point, because it will go over to the database in that column depending on what cell you're putting it in. So who knows what you might want to track, such as, I don't know, how many invoices you sold that had a given product SKU or whatever, and that could be queried and summarized later down the road with ease, as long as you've structured it in the database. So there's just extra fields here because you might have uses for that. But as simple as it gets, we've got date, if you're entering or paying, invoice number, vendor, and amount. So to enter it into the Excel database, I'll just hit enter payables. And as simple as that. So now ABC123 invoice for vendor 4 should have an outstanding balance of $10,000, and it was entered on May 18th. So what do I do to see what just happened? Well, as far as seeing the payables, you can see I click on the payables tab. It's going to have the list of vendors here, which is based on whatever you put into the validation, all the way down to 250. Oh, I extended this, so I'll have to extend this as well. So this needs to go down to 205, 255. There we go. And then we could just drop these down. No problem. Alright, so vendor 4, well look it. I owe him $10,000. Or I have not paid any, so the balance is 10,000. Now let's say this is just defaulted to today's date, so it could automatically update, without you having to change it. If you just want to know, as of the current day, what's the status of everything. But let's say you want to know the balance as of last month. Well, if we put in any date before today, let's say 2/1/2017, it would now not show anything because no activity has happened for this vendor before that date. So that's how that logic works. Next we have monthly summary. So if we go to our AP monthly, you can see this starts in January 17. It goes all the way out to May of 2031. So it will actually go out, what's that, over 10, 12 years. Which is nice. I mean, depending on what your business size is and how many transactions you have, you might be able to use this for 10 years without having to, start a new file. If you have, tens of thousands of transactions and you need to extend these down, then you might not be able to push this over as much as you want because there's limits to Excel. So total payable by consultant, you could see the running, this is the aggregate up top, so since that's only one bill, it's here, 10,000. I've not paid anything, so my outstanding balance is 10,000 going forward. You can see you enter the start date here, so, and then it populates over, so whatever, year you're using this model, you could just put the first day of the first month here, and it will go out, 10 years in time by month. We've got the summary of it here. Now, one thing I will have to change, which is very simple, is these will have to be extended down by 250 or by 150. Now, since they go out 10 years, by monthly, this may cause some problems. So we're gonna reduce, actually no, we're gonna keep it at 100. And it's much easier to add things later, add, drop downs later. So what we're gonna do actually, let's just make these validations clear at 100. And that's, I mean, all this is a template. It's going to be like a $45 template. So it's not like this is, going to set you back a ton and then you have to do a ton of work on it. It's just to show you the general, basics. It will work for up to 100 vendors and customers, but it can be modified easily to be 250, 1,000, whatever, and it doesn't take much time to do so. But for the purposes of what it is, we'll just go to 100 there. And then, so we go to our payables summary there. Okay, so we got our 10,000. You can see the database is being stored here. This field is no longer applicable because I've adjusted it. This is now vendor. I don't think I need to change anything else. Those are just extra fields. And then we also have a visual. So this is pretty nice to see here, and this is probably one of the most helpful things I've heard people say over the time that I've interacted with different clients on this thing. So here it goes out for the first year, but you could adjust. You can see the select data. It's just using the first year of the spreadsheet, but you can easily edit all of these length of time to go out further, or go for just change it one time a year. Or you could always just make, if you wanted to just look at 1 year at a time, you could just update this every time you pass a new year, and then the first 12 months you'll have in that chart. The reason why I couldn't just have an ongoing chart is because the visual aspect of, if we were to go out 10 years by month, it really was not helpful to kind of analyze your debt or payables and receivables on a monthly basis. It was just too scrunched, just did not make sense. But again, all that's very easily modifiable, no problem. So here we've got a balance of 10,000, nothing's been paid, and so that's our current status. Now let's say we want to make a payment on this bill, or on this invoice ABC123, but let's say now today's date is the 21st of 2017. So, well, number one, I would hit clear data, so I've got a clean slate to work with. So I'd enter the date, which, let's see, what did I say? It doesn't matter. I'll just do 5/21/2017. So a couple days later, we decide to pay this, or it could be a whole month later. Let's do in June. So it's a paying bill, so I'm going to choose pay bill. Invoice, what was the invoice number? One easy way to check this is, or get a list of invoices you've entered, you can hit update invoices. And now if I go to invoice AP, I'll see all my invoices here. And then you could always, this could be sorted or filtered, so that I can then pick, okay, ABC123 is all I want to see. Great, so there it is. Undo that. And this is today's date. We're going to adjust that down in the road in a second, but we'll just stand by on that. So ABC123 is the invoice I'm looking for. Go back to my input card, ABC123. And the vendor is vendor 4. And to get an idea of where that is, you can look at the overall AP summary. I'm paying vendor 4. I want to pay them. That's their name. And if I have to, you can always go to database 2, which is all the payables, and this is your raw data. So you can look at what happened, what's been entered for any given vendor or invoice in there. And this will just keep an ongoing list of everything you enter. And it's easily adjustable. If you make an error, you can just highlight the row, clear it, and that gets rid of the record, and you can re-enter it if you have errors, which is can happen, obviously. Let's go to, we said we're going to pay this, but let's say we're only going to pay 7,500 of it. Okay, now we want to enter this record of saying we're going to, we just sent them a check, so for 7,500, let's say, so we enter the payable. Now if you check out the invoices payable, and again we got to change the date here, so let's say it's in the future. Oh, it was the next month, so we'll do 6. Okay, so now look at this invoice has got 10,000 owed, but wait, we paid 7,500, so really the balance is 2,500. And then if I just want to see that, you just filter it out. And again, you could clear this out if you wanted, and you could just type anything. I've got formulas. This goes down about, I think, 1,000 rows at one time, but you can just enter invoices here. So if I just do ABC123 manually, boom, it pops up. Because the macro is just doing values only, so it's not messing up any of this. You can just type in this any invoice you want, and these automatically populate. So that's how you look up an invoice, basically, or look up what's the balances of the invoice. Again, very simple system, but it can help you keep track of things if you have, 10, 20, 30 different vendors you're trying to manage, or even hundreds. Now if you go to the AP monthly, you could see on our summary in May we had the $10,000 bill. We've paid $7,500. Now the balance is $2,500 going forward. And this summary down here is just basically summing up the activity that happened. But this is same payables. I think I should have, yep, here's the receivables, so that's total payable. And these can be grouped so you don't have to see all the way down. We could group that if we want and just bring it up. We could group this. And then we have our running balance here, so you can see it separated out in payables and amount paid. So amount entered, amount paid, and then the balance is here. And this is if you want to see a detail instead of the overall position of the company. And a lot of stuff can be done if you don't want such detail or such granulation. It could be modified to handle less granulation but more vendors if you want. There's a whole bunch of ways to manage it to work for whatever system you have. Okay, so we spread this out. And I guess that's it. You can see how the visual updates. So this is pretty cool. The line here is going to say the balance, and then payments are positive bars, or I mean bill entries are positive, payments are negatives. The line updates accordingly. Now that seems simple with one, but if you say you have 16 or 30 outstanding bills, you want to see a high level aggregate of what's happened in your company over the past month. Well, here you go. And you can always drill down if you want to see a given month what actually happened per vendor or per invoice. And that's of a given date. So you've got basically 3 tabs for payables and you've got 3 tabs for receivables. And that's the basic logic. Now I'll clear all of this out. So you got a clean slate if you get the template. Just put today here. Actually this, I'm going to say enter date as of date. It's probably the most concise and clear thing I can write. As of date, and you can just put the end of the year if you don't want to always update it, just so it's gonna catch everything that happens in the current year. I'm gonna paste this over here. Receivables. Alright. So receivables, same functionality. Let's just do this real quick. So let's say I'm entering somebody owes me money. I sent them an invoice. Invoice number T12. Invoice was for 10,000. Let's say 50,000. No payment amount because you haven't been paid yet. Work type. Now this could be any of the work types. You might want to put the service type you're doing, whatever. You don't have to put anything here, but if you want to track that, you can put something. Then you'll pick what the customer name is. which is obviously important. Let's do customer 57. And then we've got extra fields. Now that shouldn't be a vendor. Let's clear that. Data. Clear all that, something left over from the consulting side of it. And then let's hit enter receivables. There we go. So you can see it populated in the database. One, I actually hit it twice on accident. So let's clear this. We'll put it in again for 2017. Invoice TS12 for 50,000. And we'll say work type is field 1 and customer name is 7. Okay, good. So see, nothing is let's clear out these entries since it was an error. And now we're going to put it in. Now we see receivables, customer 7, 50,000. We haven't seen anything in the invoice update because we haven't hit the update invoice button. Let's do that now, and you can see the invoices in AR updated right here. Again, you could just manually write this in, TS12, anywhere. If you put it down here, it's going to show up wherever you put it in the column. And again, I'll make this also a filter so you can look at specific invoices if you need to. So here's a summary by customer as of a given date. Then we also have and that's going to be aggregate, everything that's happened for that customer, regardless of how many different invoices. And that's probably important too. So the payables side, this is going to say what, as of a given date, what has gone on for this vendor. And that's the difference between what the payables and receivables tab is and then what the monthly is. So the monthly is the same thing, but it only tracks on it goes down into a granular monthly level. So you can see here AR monthly. Now look at in April we're owed 50. We have not received any money. Outstanding balance, so sale by customer is 50. Amount paid, we haven't gotten anything. And then balance is 50. So then we say, well, we just received a check today by customer 7 for invoice TS12, but let's say we got it in August. And they paid, they didn't pay, clear this out, they actually paid 40,000, so they still are going to owe money. So let's enter that, receivable, update the date. Let's just put it for the end of the year. Now we can see, boom, look at that, customer 7, there's a $40,000 payment that was transacted, current balance 10,000. Invoices, not there. We can put, if we just want to say, let's do update invoices. Let's filter it out. Oh, just want TS12 only, and there it is. Amount paid, but we need to update the date. So let's just put this at the end of the year as well. And you can see there is the current balance 10,000. So it's nice how this will work in just being able to manage your payables and receivables. And you can do it by invoice, by customer name, and you can do it on a monthly basis as well as an aggregate to-date basis. You can see AR monthly. Here's this. You can see owed 50, then didn't get paid until August. The visual, I cleared out the payables one, or else that would also be populated. But right now, look at, there's the AR analysis. We had 50,000 sent out. We billed them it. So our balance is at, didn't get a payment till here. They didn't pay all of it, so we're still owed some money, and there's that balance. Alright, and there's instructions here to help explain. Obviously, this video is a pretty good explainer itself. I'm going to save this, and now we have moved away from a consulting firm specific model to a business model that can help anybody that has payables and receivables, any business. And it's super general. You're just entering bills and paying bills, and this tracks everything. Alright, hopefully you guys will find this of use. If you want the template, I'll email it to you. It is going to be a mid-level model. So, it's going to be a upper tier model, because that's what I had it listed at, and I think that's what it's worth. And it needs to be, because it's general enough to fit anybody, but it's also useful enough. So it'll be a price tag of, well, my current price for upper tier is $125. And this video serves as my tutorial. I would help you if you find any errors. Obviously, I'd fix that for free. If you need help fitting this to your business specifically, my standard rate's $40 an hour, which we can work out. Payment terms, basically I estimate the amount and you prepay me, and then I'll do the updates. Usually I work at a couple hours at a time, so you know, we can manage that for you pretty easily, and things, you know, there's no surprises. The link in the description box below will have a link to smarthelping.com, which will have the PayPal button to purchase this if you would like. And I'm going to clear the rest of this data off. Clear that. That's already cleared. So now it's all fresh and ready to go for anybody. Alright, have a great day.